y'all, welcome back to Narrow Rails and Mountain Trails. Well, this week I want to take y'all to the Johnson City Railroad Experience in Johnson City, Tennessee. The Johnson City Railroad Experience is a fantastic museum located right in downtown Johnson City, and they've got plenty of great displays, model train layouts, and all sorts of fun exhibits. Now, this railroad museum actually started on the campus of East Tennessee State University. Back then, it was called the George L. Carter Railroad Museum, and it was named after the man who helped build the Clinchfield Railroad, but he was also the guy who started East Tennessee State University. So it was very fitting that if a railroad museum were to be housed on the campus of ETSU, that should bear his name. Now, later on, the museum moved to its new location in downtown Johnson City, which I believe used to be a furniture store, but I could be wrong. Now, I had seen the museum in its original form as the George L. Carter Railroad Museum, and truthfully, I thought it was a great, albeit small museum even then. And I remember being in high school whenever they announced that they were going to construct a layout based around the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad, which, if you have been to my channel at all or pay any attention to the stuff behind me, you'll know that the ET and WNC Railroad is one of, if not my favorite railroad of all time. Now, whenever you first step into the museum, you're greeted by some really friendly staff and a small in-scale layout right there in the front lobby, with all kinds of neat little buttons around it where kids can press a button and make one of the trains go around in a loop. We've got a passenger train and a freight train running on that. They also have a very nice and very well-stocked gift shop area where you can find fun gifts and souvenirs and just really fun stuff for any member of the family who enjoys railroads, railroad history, or model trains. Now, whenever you enter into the main exhibit hall, the first thing that you're going to see is they've got a screen playing a little video, just kind of giving you some background on the history of railroading in Johnson City, and then you'll move into the train layouts. But as soon as you walk into the main exhibit hall, you are just absolutely surrounded by model trains on all sides. They've got G-gauge model trains running around the ceiling. They've got a really great in-scale layout packed away over into one corner. As you're walking in, if you look over to the right, they've got a really great ET and WNC Railroad exhibit where you can see all kinds of neat little antiques, memorabilia, and artifacts from the original East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad. They've got things like an old ticket machine, the dispatcher's desk, an old telephone. They've got a really great photo of one of the 10-wheelers sitting behind a pane of glass, kind of like an old window out of the Johnson City engine house. Now, the crown jewel of this museum is their ET and WNC Railroad layout. They have an entire layout that depicts the ET and WNC Railroad from Johnson City, Tennessee to Cranberry, North Carolina. It ends in Cranberry, and that's rather fitting because the actual ET and WNC Railroad also ended in Cranberry. It did run all the way into Boone, but it wasn't really the ET and WNC past Cranberry. Once it went further east of Cranberry, it actually became the Linville River Railroad, and there's a whole other video to be made about the Linville River. Now, as of right now, the Johnson City and Elizabethton portions of the railroad are still under construction. They're putting a lot of effort into trying to recreate the Johnson City engine shops there at Legion Street, as well as the car barn, the paint shop, the yards that paralleled the Clinchfield there in Johnson City, as well as the original Johnson City Depot, which today houses the White Duck Taco Shop and Yeehaw Brewing Company. But they've also got some really, really unique scratch-built models. See, the ET and WNC being a almost perpetually broke narrow-gauge railroads in the backwoods of Appalachia, they needed to build a lot of specialized home-built equipment. And so, whenever you're modeling a railroad that has a lot of specialized home-built equipment, that means you got to get really creative with a lot of your scratch building. One really unique piece of equipment that they have modeled that I did not know about until actually when I went and visited the museum were these auto racks. Yes, the ET and WNC Railroad actually had auto racks for Model Ts. You would arrive at the station there in Johnson City, and your automobile would be loaded up onto these primitive wood-framed auto rack cars, and your car would be hauled up into the mountains with you, which is, pretty appropriate, being the fact that the whole railroad's need for running further into the mountains beyond Cranberry was because the roads going into the area were not great. So if you wanted to be able to get your car to where you were wanting to go up in western North Carolina without wearing it completely out trying to drive it up the dirt roads, this was a great alternative. You could just load your car up onto these primitive wooden auto racks and it would haul you up the mountain. Another unique model that they have in the Johnson City portion of the layout is the model of the ET and WNC's Jitney. Now, the Jitney was their motor car. It was basically the ET and WNC's version of a galloping goose. And it has its own very long and drawn out story, but essentially all it was a Johnson City street trolley car that had been taken and combined with an old Mack fire truck, I want to say. It was an old Mack fire truck. And they ran this little motor car up and down the line between Johnson City and Elizabethton, and they found out that it did not like running east of Elizabethton going into the gorge. And so they eventually sold it to their sister railroad, the East Broad Top in Pennsylvania. The layout itself is absolutely spectacular. The guys who have constructed this model have spent years pouring tons and tons of detail, and you can really tell that they're very passionate about this layout in particular. It is very well known in the world of model trains. It's the largest model railroad depicting the ET and WNC Railroad in the world, and they're very, very proud of it. And it's all very, very well done. Everything right down to the interiors of some of the buildings. Whenever the railroad gets to Shell Creek, Tennessee, right in between the state line and Roan Mountain, they've actually modeled the interiors of some of the little buildings that would have lined up along the front street there in Shell Creek, which allows for the person viewing the layout from our perspective, in the one-to-one scale world. It allows you to get right down at eye level and really just kind of get a glimpse of what it must have been like to have been in one of those businesses back in the 1920s, 30s, or 40s, watching an ET and WNC freight or passenger train trundling eastward into North Carolina. Now, moving on from the ET and WNC layout, they've got some other really unique exhibits all over the museum. One unique exhibit, still ET and WNC related, is a portion of John Waite's SN3 scale model of the ET and WNC, and he actually modeled the Carnegie iron furnaces there in Johnson City. Now, John Waite was the man who wrote Blue Ridge Stemwinder, which is effectively the ET and WNC Railroad Bible. It's got as much information as could have possibly been compiled into a single volume. And so the loss of John Waite was a great loss to the preservation community for the ET and WNC Railroad. And we're just really lucky that we get to have not only his book, but some remnant of his really great model railroad that he had. Now, the main group that put this museum together is called the Mountain Empire Model Railroaders. So, of course, they have their own model train group club layout there in the museum. It is a massive HO scale model railroad that depicts the Appalachian region around East Tennessee, and depicts it quite well, I might add. On this particular day that I went, there weren't many trains running except for They apparently had a visitor from the island of Sodor pulling an express train across the railroad. But overall, they had an absolute top-notch, fantastic model railroad, fantastic museum. Another interesting part of the museum that I wish that I had spent more time in was their library. They have a massive library that has volumes upon volumes of books on railroads and everything pertaining to railroads. Not just, oh, here's a history of the ET&WNC, or here's a history of the Southern and East Tennessee. They've got books of history, engineering, metallurgy. I mean, somebody, especially a nerd like myself, could spend hours in this library, and they still would not have found everything that they wanted to look for. One real fun story about whenever I went in and took a look at the library, you have to ask permission to go in because they have a lot of very rare and very valuable books in there. So you have to ask permission for somebody to come and unlock it for you, and they'll sit in there with you. And the lady who was the key holder for the library was in the children's room, where they have a non-stop loop of Thomas the Tank Engine playing on a TV screen, and she was bleaching and disinfecting some of the toy trains that they keep in the little kids area. So naturally, she was just absolutely devastated whenever this guy comes in and goes, "Hey, can I bother you from your never-ending Thomas the Tank Engine marathon to help me in the library?" She went running. She was very, very happy to be out of there for a few minutes and told me so. But it really was a great museum. One final thing that I want to show y'all is the art gallery. On the far end of the museum, behind the ET&WNC layout, they had a fantastic art gallery. They had a really great photography exhibit. These photos were taken by the same photographer, and he just did an absolutely beautiful job of some of his photographs. And for me, as a photographer myself, it really did inspire me to want to do more and get a little bit better at my art and my craft in photography. But yeah, that was the Johnson City Railroad experience in Johnson City, Tennessee. This is the same group, the same museum that put on the train show that we went to a few weeks ago. Sorry it's taken so long to be able to get a new video up. Life has not been kind to me during the month of June. There's been a lot of stuff that I've had to deal with and all kinds of little fires to put out, and it's just been a very, very, very interesting month. Very interesting. But there's going to be new videos coming out. I've got a bunch of really cool ideas. There will be more hiking videos coming up. I have to take a work trip for my 9-to-5 job next week, and there will be some vlog content for that. And we are going to also take a look at my new adventure mobile, which I am very, very excited to show you guys. And I have never loved a car this much, and so you guys will get to come with me on the very first mini road trip in my brand new Jeep, and that is so exciting. Maybe not for you, but for me it is. So, it's my channel. Yeah, if you guys are liking the content, if you guys want to see more, if you want to see what's going on with this thing over here, because I've had this layout sitting in the corner of now this and the previous video, so I guess it's about time, sooner rather than later, that I explain to y'all what's going on with this. But all of that will come in due time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to, leave a comment if you liked the video, and if you didn't like the video, comment anyway, because, well, YouTube doesn't care. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.